How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Daily Stand Up. So, in this one, I want to walk through some more system design scenarios, and this one is going to be rather interesting, I think. So, the context for this video is going to be around making um, HTTP requests. So, what we need to do is we need to make multiple HTTP requests. So that can be, out to an API, right? That's probably what it's going to be out to. So we have one engine API instance running, and we're going to make a call out to our engine or our car API. So we need to make multiple API requests. So that's the ask, right? That's what we're tasked with doing is performing this. But the problem that we run into is that we need to make 10 requests. Okay. And the other problem is that we can't make those in parallel. We cannot execute in parallel due to data. And what I mean by that is that each request requires something from the previous request. So it's impossible to perform these in parallel. So that's the issue that we're having. The last issue is that each request takes 1 second. So this is the problem scenario that we have. We need to make 10 requests. We can't execute them in parallel, and each request takes 1 second to complete. So we're looking at minimum 10 seconds every time we need to do this. So this is the issue that we're having. And so I'm going to draw a box here to represent our engine API, which is where this is going to be taking place. So this is where the logic is going to be performed. This is where the actions are going to be happening. So if I color this box, we'll color it pink. These are going to be indicative of the HTTP requests. So in a .NET environment, you're going to be working with HTTP client factory to new up a client, and you're going to be making those requests. So what we need to do, and I guess I'll just draw this car API to represent the fact that we're going to be reaching out to the car API. And I'm not super concerned in terms of what is being brought back in this example from our requests. All I care about is that some piece of data on request 1 is necessary for request 2, request 2 is necessary for request 3, and so on and so forth. So that's what we're working with. So how can we fix this? Because it's on the surface, it doesn't seem to be fixable. And whenever you look up how to speed up requests, you're always going to see, okay, just make the requests in parallel, which would be fine. And if we made these requests in parallel, we could theoretically, depending on threads, get this down to, if we executed, let's just say 10 at one time, we could do it in 1 second, which would be perfect. But we can't do that because we have to do this sequentially, and it's unavoidable. So how do we fix this? And this is not as commonly talked about compared to making requests in parallel. But sometimes, given the data that you work with, you don't have the luxury of making them in parallel. So what do we do? So in the context of our engine API, one way you can fix this, one potential way, so you don't have one long chain, because the problem really is not making the request, right? If it takes 10 seconds, that's fine. But the problem is really going to be the code. The problem is we're going to say, okay, we're going to make request 1, then request 2, request 3, request 4, and you get the point. But how do we write that in code? And I'm just going to write pseudocode because this is just a system design scenario. How do we write that in code? And there's a couple things that we need to consider when we're making all these requests. And the considerations are these. We need to consider timeouts. What's the timeout for this? Because an API should have some timeout specified. So we need to take into consideration a timeout. We need to consider what a cancellation token would look like. We need to consider errors. What happens if request 7 fails? Does it all fail? So we need to consider that. So we need to consider logging. We need to consider are we going to throw on an error? And because if request 7 breaks, we don't have anything to send to request 8. So how do we handle that? That's really the big question. And so we can't just put this into one big block of code. That's not going to work. No matter how creative we get with writing that block, even if we use propagator blocks, pass that cancellation token through the pipeline, it's not going to work, because if something breaks in that chain, we're going to lose the state of where it was at. We can cache up to a point. We can save the state in some kind of database table that saves the state and then go back to there. But it's going to get messy, and it's not going to be something that you want to work in, and it's going to be very, very hard to debug properly. And so what we might need to do in this scenario is break out the request flow from one execution time into 10 separate execution times. And why this might be helpful is because we can capture the state for each of the 10 different executions, right? If request 1 succeeds, request 2 succeeds, request 3 succeeds, but request 4 fails, ideally we would like to capture the state of request 4. And especially if it's a code error, we need to capture everything up to request 4 and then have the option to basically replay that message as if it started from request 4. And so one way to do that is to introduce some kind of streaming technology. And so on this channel, we talk a lot about RabbitMQ. RabbitMQ has streams. We can talk about Kafka if we want to. It doesn't really matter so much for the system design. All that matters is that we're going to be using a streaming technology. So I'm going to draw a box, and we're going to make this color purple. Oh, actually, that does not show up nice. We're going to make this yellow. We're going to introduce a stream, and whether that's RabbitMQ streams or Kafka, doesn't really matter. There's advantages to both, as long as they both have a streaming technology which both of them do. Both of them support message replay through offsets, through a number of things. So we need a stream, and we need 10 of them. So we need to introduce, okay, actually, for the sake of the example and for the sake of everyone's viewing of this, I'm going to bring this down to 5 requests, because I don't want to draw 10 boxes. So same example, except I'm going to scale back to 5 because that's going to be way too many boxes. So I'm going to actually take out RabbitMQ and Kafka, because it doesn't matter. All matters is that it's a stream. And okay, so now we have 5 streams set up. I'm going to remove this box because that was just our code sample. So now our engine API, what I'm going to do is, instead of making one giant request to the car API, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, let's go ahead and post. Let's make our first publish message to the stream. And then I'm going to add a consumer of that stream on the engine API. And I'm going to do that 5 times. And again, for the sake of the diagram, I'm going to stagger them like this and just pretend that each of these applies to every single one, if you can kind of get what I'm saying. All right, so hold on, let me move these up here. I'm getting out of focus. There we go. Okay, hopefully you can see that. All right, so what we've just introduced is a pretty sizable change compared to just making one, 10 or 5 requests to our car API in sequence. What I've introduced is 5 different streams into our system design. So our engine API is going to make one request to our car API. It's going to get their response back. It's going to push that data or publish that data to stream 1. We're going to have a consumer of stream 1 receive that data, make request 2 to car API, get a response back, publish that response to stream 2. We're going to have a consumer of stream 2 receive that, publish the message to our or make a request to car API, get a response back, publish that response 3 to stream 3, and so forth and so on. So now what we've done is we've captured the state for every single request response. And why this is important is because let's say if stream, I'll just label these stream, stream 1, stream 2, stream 3, stream 4, stream 5. If any point along our requests fail, let's say, did I capture that box? Okay. Let's say that request 3 failed, right? We're going to have that state inside of a stream. And the nice thing about their streams is that they support message replaying. And this is going to be dependent on how you set up the replayability. But basically, streams work with an offset. And streams work by specifying, okay, we can either take next, which is the first on the, basically the stack or the queue, or we can specify an exact offset. RabbitMQ works with consumer offsets. Kafka, we get a little bit more configuration in terms of message replayability, especially in terms of which, whatever software you use to provide you that interface on top of Kafka. But both of them in some way support message replayability. I'm not going to go into more detail than that for the sake of the system design conversation. But basically, we're going to take advantage of message replaying to capture the state of whatever part of this failed. So if something failed on request 3, we're going to have that state in one of the streams that then if it was a legitimate code problem or something, something broke, that we can fix, we can then fix it in our system, replay that message from exactly the state of it failed, and then it'll continue down the stream without having to start from the beginning and send them all back to the car API. So this is a little bit more stateful way to capture not only did all the requests, but it's going to capture the state of each of their responses from each of the 5 requests. And it's going to give us the ability to replay at any moment in time back through our system, which is very nice. And so this handles timeouts because we're not going to have timeouts be a problem because that initial request is going to be fast and we're not going to have to wait for the rest of the 5. So timeouts should not be a problem in this scenario. Cancellation tokens is not going to be, or is going to be, handled well too. If you want to use a cancellation token, if we want to pass that through code, we can do that. But again, we're not passing it through as many methods as you would if we had done it with 5 sequentially made requests. Errors is going to also work nice too because again, we can replay the messages. If we want to get a little bit more fancy with this, we can make some kind of error queue in addition to these streams to house the specific messages that errored, and then we can have a consumer of that of that error queue that processes those messages differently if we need that capability. Logging is also going to be a lot more robust because again, we're capturing the exact state. It's going to be easier to view that moment in time because we're going to have the timestamp of when it occurred. We're going to have the exact payload of what it looked like. And it's just the logging is going to be, the logging done in the API, but we're also going to get the kind of the logging by way of the stream, right? If we want to connect, some kind of analytics to these streams, we can tie something into, if we want to have some kind of like, I don't know, some kind of analytics or logging, logging consumer, we could tie the logging consumer into any one of these streams and ingest that data. And so obviously if this is RabbitMQ, it's going to be a stream. If it's Kafka, it's going to be a topic. But it's, again, the streaming technology is irrelevant, but the fact that both Kafka and RabbitMQ support this functionality, this is how it's going to happen. And so if we want to tie a logging consumer into any of these things, we can do that. It's going to work really well. This also handles what happens if we have to throw an error, because if we throw an error on the consumer of stream 4, we still have the state of the message on stream 4. So if we do throw an error, we can actually throw and have the engine API return that error and say, hey, something broke, or log it or throw an error, whatever we want, however we wanted to handle that. But we still have the message. And again, it just makes it way easier because we don't have to do all of these 5 requests every time something breaks way down the chain of requests. And so again, I should probably add in our connection back to our car API. Again, this is just one possible way to do this. Again, I staggered stream 1 through 5 like this because they're all going to be connected to engine API. So I just kind of assumed that, I would have a bunch of lines connecting all these, but you kind of get the idea. So streaming technology works really well. If you don't want to use streams, you could use queues, and you could use queues in conjunction with error queues to achieve a similar functionality. But the thing with queues is you will lose out on the message replaying capability that you have when you use streaming technology. But this level of functionality it's going to be very robust. The data is going to be very resilient because we're not going to lose it. And again, we capture the state of our system better than, compared if we had just made those requests sequentially. And again, this is only a problem because we have to make these like one after another compared to doing this in parallel. If we could execute this in parallel, we probably wouldn't have to do all this stuff. But the fact of the matter is that we can't execute it in parallel, so we are limited a little bit in terms of how we can get faster, speeds making these. So something to think about. So again, as you're going through system designs, as you're reading through system designs, streaming technologies, message brokers, queues are going to be your tool to unlock a really solid, performant, scalable system. And honestly, the sky's the limit when you start introducing queues and streaming technologies, because you can make some really, really powerful stuff. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.